So welcome, welcome. So this is now day 5 in Muskoka, Canada. 5 days now completely offline, which is a tremendous feat for me because I am that person who checks my emails multiple times a day. So a lot of mental hygiene just on that alone, and then just this to receive so much from nature. And then there are these painted trillium flowers everywhere, from white to pink to a purple color. A lot of time just reading and writing and chilling by the fire, eating lots of yummy khichdi. If you don't know what khichdi is, look into it. It's food for the gods. And yeah, a lot of nourishment. So today's practice will be a practice of gratitude. So will be about, feel like opening the chest a little bit. So a little bit of back bending. You have a couple of options to choose from and see what's most appropriate for you. If you happen to have a couple of blankets, maybe 3, that would be wonderful, not necessary, but that's what I'll use so that you can follow along with me. That would be great. And you can fold your blankets into this shape. So if they are like this in the Tadasana shape, you fold them once more, and then put them in the close to the top of your mat. Just stack them a little bit staggered, so that they're not directly one on top of the other, but so that they serve as a little ramp, because I'm going to have my abdomen resting here on this little ramp as a support to begin that lengthening process. So as you're ready, go ahead and join me here. So maybe we'll start sideways, just lifting the low ribs off of the waistline. There's a lot of mosquitoes here that I have to share space with, and not my favorite, but we make compromises, right? So here, align the legs so that they are fully engaged. So from the pubis, lengthen out through the inner thighs, all the way out to the inner heels. Drop down to the shoulders so that you're not tensing up here. Just creating some length on the, for me, left side of the body, the lower side, that is touching the ground and the blankets. And breathe. And then rolling on forward. And then shifting to the opposite side. Again, bring yourself up high enough so that the low ribs are on that little ramp, and the low hip is on the ground. And then again, engaging. So here you have the back view. Take the tailbone down, spread through the sacrum, really engage those legs, and then make sure that you're not dumping into that bottom shoulder, but that you're using the shoulder, you're using the arm as support. There's a little tripod to begin to open laterally. And just breathing here. If you have a beautiful view, such as I do, take a moment to take it in. It's sweet. That makes you smile. And then we come back with the abdomen on that little ramp. Bring yourself up high enough so that you can feel that. So you notice there's a lot of like maneuvering. So this is a little modification of Bhujangasana Cobra pose. Yes, often you see this is called the Sphinx pose because you're using the arms as support to lengthen. So here, play with this a little bit and see maybe if you press the hands down and towards the waistline, press those elbows onto the prop wherever it lands, And then from this, from the stability that you have here through the upper arms, go ahead and lift the right leg up slightly. And then as you bring it back down, bring the outer hip down first, and then the inner groin, so that you can spread a little through the lumbar. And then do the same thing with the left leg. Lift up through the left, and then as you bring the left leg down, spread through the outer hip and then back down. And then just taking a moment here to broaden through the collarbones, to lift from the low belly, and to begin to bring your chin to the chest so that you can release the back, the shoulders, most importantly the neck, because the neck often gets jammed up. Yep. The pressure of the head downwards with gravity all day long. We're not even aware. So keep releasing in that way. And then the right ear can come to the right shoulder. Left ear to the left shoulder. Come back to center. And then bending the right leg, reaching the right arm up and around. And then if you can catch that foot with ease, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, if it's not reachable, maybe you have a strap that you can use, but you can flex the foot if it's not reachable, and you can lift the foot up from the inner groin, and you're still going to get a nice opening through the quadricep, which is so important when we do the back bends, right? You want that area really well engaged. So lift through the inner heels here. And if you are able to catch the foot, then bring it as close to you as you can, but without dropping through the front of the thigh. Go ahead and lift the top of the thigh up towards the heel and the heel towards the top of the thigh, both working together. I like sometimes to just bring my elbow to the foot and use the whole forearm to encourage that connection a little bit further. So taking the front of the hip in the direction of the heel, and the heel in the direction of the outer hip. It's a significant stretch. And then let's go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Forearm is down, supporting you, so you're not dumping into it again, just using that as support. Bending the left leg. So maybe here you can catch this side as where you couldn't the other. Great. Otherwise, just flex the foot and feel like pretend you have a tray on top of the foot and you're lifting that tray up slightly. Just feel that engagement on the top of the thigh. And if you can catch the foot, then go ahead and do that and bring it in towards you. But not at the expense of the shoulder, so keep the shoulder broad, keep the armpit open, keep the collarbones long, and that release that you did for the neck, maintain that. And so here too, the outer hip moving towards the inner heel moving towards that outer hip. Take a nice deep breath in. And as you exhale, bring it in a little bit closer. And just explore the sensations here as you're able. Maybe you can do quite a bit here. Maybe not. Wherever you are, just tuning into the body. Asking the body for permission to move more deeply, if it's appropriate. And wherever the barriers are, wherever the resistance is, you pause there, you stay with that. And gently breathe into them and notice how it begins to yield. And go ahead and release as you feel ready. And now let's take a little variation of Shalambhasan here. So with the legs again, lift up one and then lift up the other with the inner groins, lifting up to the sky and then moving the direction of the inner heels and the outer hips dropping down towards the earth. Take the forearms onto your prop if there's a prop, or maybe just onto the ground. Broaden through the collarbones, and then go ahead and find the base of the pelvic floor from the perineum. Lift up all the way through the sternum and beyond the top of the head. Breathe. Continue to engage those legs. Again, from the very base of the spine, lift up through the sternum. You may want to then bring the arms back a little bit further and lift up one. The head being the last thing to come up. And then release. Maybe take your hands into a little fist like so, and bring it so that the forehead is resting there. Breathe into the low lobes of the lungs on the right side, on the left side. Fill that up. And so that's a really gentle back bend, a lovely way to open up because you're also strengthening the lumbar, right? And so in that strengthening, you then build the capacity to go into deeper and more freeing back bends where you're not having to push up against the earth. So this is to me the most valuable one of all. So go ahead and open up your blanket. Ooh, the sun is coming out, which is definitely a boon. And open all of your blankets up. So if you have 3 blankets, just go ahead and stack them one on top of the other around the same area. If you don't have, it's okay. We're going to be doing Setubandha Sarvangasana, so traditionally you don't use any blankets for that in any case. But I'm going to, because it makes the process a little bit more gentle, a little bit more supported. But on this, unlike what we were doing before, you do want to stack the blankets pretty much on top of one another. Maybe still a little bit of a gradation, but very small amount. Okay, so now the head, the part of the head that is protruding the most, you're going to press that against the ground. Right? You're not going to be looking at your camera. Maybe you want to, if this is a bit unfamiliar to you, you just want to watch one series first. We'll do it again a couple more times. Okay? And then you also want to be pressing your feet onto the ground. So the legs are going to be bent. And the purpose of the blanket here is so that the earth comes up a little bit higher so that we can really use the shoulders and the upper arms and the elbows to go deeper, to gain more support, more ground for the arcing of the spine, for the back bend itself. So let's go ahead and give it a go. The legs are bent. In fact, bring the feet as close to your hips as you can, and the head is not on the blanket, it's on the earth. Right? So if you don't have blankets there, it'll be much easier to get that part of the head that is most protruding, the very centermost part of the back of the head, onto the ground. Otherwise, if you have the blanket like I do, you kind of have to really focus on bringing that chin down slightly. And now here, with the legs bent, that focus on pushing down through the feet, and how the pushing down through the feet really starts at the area of the knee. And then we're going to lift one hip up slightly, lift the armpit, the whole side body slightly, and then draw the shoulder down, the arm down, and use that as a little tripod, and then do the same thing on the other side, lifting the shoulder up, lifting the side of the body up, and drawing that elbow down. So now here, this is wonderful. It's good enough. Pressing down through the upper arm, pressing down through the feet, pressing down through the head, and lifting the spine not only up but in the direction of the knees. If you want to take it a step further, take your thumbs to either side of your glutes and use those thumbs as a reminder to, from the inside, move the left pelvis more to the left and the right pelvis more to the right. So I like to place the thumbs right at the medius part of the glute to not only lift that up, but to give the sacrum a chance to release the two parts of the pelvis away from one another a little bit more. That is very soothing to the lumbar spine while still opening the back. And then again, upper part of the shoulders that touching the ground, really press down into that. Press down into the upper arms, press down into the elbows, press down into the feet and the head. And now connect to the sternum and let it rise. As the whole spine lengthens in the direction of your knees. You should be feeling the thigh stretch as you did in that prone position when you had the foot, one foot at a time. Keep lengthening. So you're not going for height as much as you're going for length here. So yes, the sternum is lifting, but it's also arcing in the direction of the pelvis, the knees, and then pushing down through the feet. And when you feel that you've had enough, go ahead and lift the heels up and lengthen the spine in the direction of your heels. So maintain that length that you just gained. And just take a moment here. And for me, I'm going to bask in the sunshine. So we'll do this 2 more times, just exactly as we just did. If for some reason this feels funny on your lumbar, then turn around and repeat the Shalambhasan variation that we did with the belly on the ground. Yeah, because that's really will build a lot of strength and support. For the next 2 times, I'm going to do a little variation where we lift one foot, one leg, and then the other. Feel free to join me with that if it feels appropriate. Otherwise, just repeat what we just did. Yeah? There's always more to discover and to experience. So again, propping yourselves up so that, actually, go ahead and do this. Take a moment to just take the hands to the base of the skull to lift the head off of the neck, and then place the head back down onto the ground. Again, walk the feet close to your heels. The feet are not wider than the hips. They're just in alignment with the hips, and as are the knees. For this variation, because I'm going to be lifting one leg up, and maybe you will too, walk the feet together, okay? So again, lift up through one side, draw the upper arm, lift up through the other side, draw the upper arm, take the thumbs to the bumbum, as we say in Portuguese, to the glutes, left hip to the left, right hip to the right, breathe. From the inner groins, lengthen out to the inner knees and down into the inner heels. Lift that sternum up
and arc it out towards the pelvic region. And then maybe bring that right knee in towards you and drop it, drive it all the way up. From the inner groin, lengthen out to the inner heel on both legs. The leg that is straight up in the air and the leg that's bent. That will give you a little bit more stability in this asymmetrical shape. And then as you're ready, bend that leg in and take it down. And again, lift both heels up. Encourage those hips to move down in the direction of the heels and bring yourselves back down. Just take a moment here, maybe placing one hand over the heart and the other hand over the belly. Just experiencing the sensation from within. Vyana Vayu, the prana that moves from the center of the body out, from the heart out. This is what you get in back bends, as well as Udana Vayu, the ability to move the prana, the breath, in ways that are expressive in speech and such, and singing and chanting. And then let's go ahead and do it one more time. So again, if you're going to lift one leg up, bring the feet close together. Otherwise, you can just keep them hip-width apart. Lifting up one side, drawing that arm to use it as a tripod. Lifting up the other side, drawing the arm. And then again, taking the thumbs to the hips to encourage both sides of the pelvic floor to move away from one another, creating a little bit more space through the lumbar. Broaden through the collarbones, push down through those shoulders, lift up through the sternum. And then if it's there for you, draw the left knee in and bring that left foot up. Oh, these bugs. And then from the inner groins, lengthen out to the inner heels. And breathe. Bending the leg. Lifting both heels up. And again, lengthening the hips towards the heels. And taking a moment here, maybe even straightening the legs. And breathing. Vyana Vayu. Prana. Aspect how the flow of prana circulates to invigorate, to revitalize the system. As you're ready, roll onto the side. Take your time. Let the head be the last thing to come. Take a moment to notice the effects of the back bending work that you just did. And now it's a wonderful way to complete, right? There's these crazy, huge spiders all around. But apparently they eat the bugs, so it's all right. We're going to do a little bit of hip opening to close the practice. So I invite you to take one of those blankets. Again, you don't need any blankets, but you find it helpful. Take one of those blankets and fold it like so again. And then fold it up yet once more, like so. So really high up, okay? And that will be for the hip. And then you can take the other two blankets, if you happen to have two more, and fold them up just long ways.
And that will be for the leg that's straight, so that you can lift it up a little bit more and find more freedom through the lumbar. Not necessary, we're just working with pigeon pose. Half pigeon is very gentle, but this is how I like to do it sometimes, so I'm just sharing it with you so you have a little variation to play with, especially if the hips are tight. So here, you can come into your hands and knees to the side of all the props, stepping that right foot forward, walking that right foot in the direction of, in the opposite direction towards the left, and you want to adjust that top prop so that it rests right at the area of your hip, and then you're going to walk the left leg on top of the other two props. So once you have all this situated, you might want to take a couple moments to just swing the hips side to side. I find that to be lovely. Yeah. And then once you are settled here, right, the hips, the both sides of the hips are open, the inner groin of that back leg is lifting up, the outer hip is encouraged to move down. You can begin to do, as we've been doing all along, from the lumbar, from the low belly, lengthen the spine forward. I have this boat here, and that will give me a chance to reach with my arms, staying a little bit higher up. Maybe you have some kind of prop there that brings you some height as well, but surely not necessary. You can just bring your hands to the ground. But it is lovely to be able to experience here as you open the right hip, because that's the work that we're doing mostly, right? To release the lumbar spine. That you can also feel the two sides of the ribs expanding and lengthening away from the pelvis, so that there's a little bit more space in the area of the waistlines for the internal organs really receive a boon from that. And breathe. And then coming back. You may choose to stay a little longer. And sitting up, switching the position of the props. I'm just going to swing this quote to one side and the long one over to the other side. Like that. So again, starting out on your hands and knees, stepping that left foot forward this time, walking it over to the right, and then positioning the prop right at the area of the hip. And then walking that right foot up, the whole right leg up on top of the other prop. And then here too, take a moment to maybe swing the hips a little bit side to side. Notice how that feels. And then go ahead and begin to reach forward. Surely if there's tension on the knee, attempting to do that, you want to be respectful of the joints. There should be little to no tension on the joints at any time, right? So you could do this reversed, right? You could be lying down on your back and just draw the leg in towards you and open the hip in this way. So just imagine me lying down in the opposite direction. And again, if you can reach the arms up, out into a prop that is a little bit higher than the ground, do that. I conveniently have found this here for myself, but not necessary.
The attention is on sending that left pelvic floor out to the left a little bit more. As you continue to engage that right leg, lift and especially lowering the right hip and lengthening through the inner groin of that right leg, the straight leg. And then from the low belly, lengthen out. So that length that you discovered for the back bend is here as well. You're just not going into that full extension. The arms being an extension of the spine. Go ahead and feel that connection as the ribs release out, expand out, and as you lengthen the arms. No tension on your neck, so continue to drive the shoulders, the tips of the shoulders down as you reach the arms forward. And breathe. And as you're ready, coming back through your forearms. Maybe take all fours just to have a little bit of a symmetry here. This may feel good to you. Or maybe downward facing dog. Just feeling the earth underneath you, wherever you are, all fours, or maybe even child's pose. Actually, these little props that we have near are so helpful for child's pose that I can't help but want to use it. So taking that long prop between the legs, and then lowering the torso down. Maybe the other one for the forehead. So this way, there's a little bit of a breathing space right here. And as the one prop takes the forehead and the other prop takes the torso, you can release the lumbar, the whole spine, in fact. The arms can still be forward if you like, or you can just bring it all the way back down. Letting go. Acknowledging that there is great stability underneath you. And you can give your tensions, whether the tension is in the form of effort that you put into the practice, or worries in the mind. You can give all that away to Mother Earth. And as you do, new space is created to receive a sense of greater support than you may have felt up until now. This support, this ultimate nourishment. Allow it to penetrate staying here for as long as you would like. And if you're ready to move on with your day, very slowly take your arms forward or backward, depending on where they were, so that the forearms can support the lift of the torso.
I hope this was uplifting to you and at the same time grounding and stabilizing as well. And now we take this little moment as an invitation to you to encourage some space in your day, in your week, wherever you may be, that is dedicated to unplugging. And by unplugging, I mean something as simple as deciding to go offline. Thank you for sharing this time with me.